Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you a no-nonsense way how to get your ad campaigns running as fast as possible, and so you can start bringing in leads, exclusive leads, as fast as possible. So at any point, if you see me looking off to the side of my screen, it's probably because I am. I created a guide, and if I didn't do that, I would probably be talking about this stuff for hours off on different tangents. So this just to keep me focused and on track. What you see here on screen, it's going to be a resource document that I'm also going to follow, and it's going to have hyperlinks to other documents that I created and to additional resources. Like for example, here I have creative resources and ad copy resources. These are going to be examples to kind of get you guys going once we get to those steps. I'm going to have this link somewhere on this page, wherever you're watching this video. But to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be covering, we're going to start with identifying services to promote, moving on to targeting your ideal audience, determining your ad spend, creating effective ads, choosing a strategy, implementing the strategy, and we'll be going from there. But this video is just going to be focused on getting everything set up for your campaign and turning that thing on. Not so much about optimizing, at least on this video. I will be covering that later on because this video, from what I can tell, it is going to be a little bit long. So let's get into it. First, you do want to open up this document because I'm going to be referring back to this, and we can get into it. So identifying services to promote. So you want to be clear on what specific service you want to promote, and it's going to help us when you get into creating your ads and actually doing the targeting that you're going to need to be doing. If you're not sure what service to promote, here's a few things to think about. And if it's not clear already, we're going to be talking about service-based leads specifically for hardscapers. So a couple of things to think about are going to be maybe your most profitable service, your quickest service, the service with the highest conversion rate, and that's just to name a few. Maybe you have some other metrics that you track that will have another service that you can use. In my experience, I hear clients say that driveway transformations are typically the quickest jobs to complete, and for that reason, they want to actually target those leads. But on the other hand, I have found that backyard transformations typically tend to be the cheapest leads. I mean, let's be realistic, who doesn't want a resort style backyard? It's going to be very easy to get those type of leads. But if that doesn't work for you, you can always try a different service. Now, as far as targeting your ideal audience, well, I mean, these days ad policies become more and more strict. We as advertisers have less and less targeting abilities unless you acquire your own data. And this could be first, your own data, your own proprietary data, or you can get data from a third party. But that's some stuff that I'm going to talk about in another video. So for now, what I personally do is target income, counties or cities, and most of my targeting comes from the ad creative and copy itself. And you'll see that when I start creating the copy, like for example, here's a good one: attention Sacramento homeowners. Or we can also say the same thing with multiple areas. So attention homeowners in X, Y, and Z counties, we have a special offer for you. So that's what I mean when I say you target within your creative and in your copy. So it's very clear because we have less and less options as time goes on with these ad platforms. So we let the creative and copy do that for us. So you want to decide if you want to be targeting homeowners, property managers, or owners of commercial properties. Typically, I go after homeowners. It's by far the easiest and the cheapest. And there's just a lot more homeowners than there are property managers or, managers of commercial properties or developers even you could target. If you want to be targeting those type of people, since there's a lot fewer, you are going to need to build some type of list. At least that's what I would really suggest. Again, we're going to cover that in a different video. But I would suggest that because if you build a list or even, again, use a third party to get a list of people who manage these commercial properties, you can upload that into Meta, into Facebook, or into whatever ad platform you're using and target just those individuals with your ads. So you're wasting a lot less money targeting this way. You're only targeting people who they fit your audience. When it comes to homeowners, this is really going to be the best way to do it because there's a lot more of them. Now, when it comes to your ad spend, I would recommend spending anywhere between $100 to $200 per day. So be prepared to spend around $5,000 for the month. When you first start out, though, I will say that it is going to be a lot of testing. So the budget may be a lot higher, like it could be $200 to $500 a day. But as you start to turn off the ads that aren't performing well and you start to optimize those winners, at that point, you're going to be spending a lot less. But the average, I would say, just be prepared to spend about $5,000 a month for ads. You're essentially trading money for data at this point. And even though we will be getting you leads right away, it doesn't mean that it'll be at the lowest cost until we really start to optimize all your ads and you figure out what's working and what isn't. Of course, you don't have to spend this much at all. You can get away with spending much less, but the results will also take a lot longer. So it's just, how fast you want your results, how much are you willing to spend, and really, if you can't be spending $100, $200 per day at least, I would suggest just waiting before you run these type of ad campaigns, because a lot of it is, again, testing at the very beginning. Now, if you do have your own data already, you've run ad accounts, then the results may come a lot faster, even if you do have a smaller ad budget. So getting into creating the effective ads. This one's going to be a little tricky, and one of the main things we want to experiment with. We're going to be creating 10 different creatives and 5 different versions of ad copy. Really, you could do more, you could do less. It's just a matter of, again, your budget, how much you want to be testing, how fast you want your results. But you've heard this before. It's really going to start with your offer. What's the reason that you're going to give your customers a reason to buy? If people are going to buy, they need a reason to buy. That's also part of the reason we select a specific service in the first place. So just to give you a couple examples, I think I wrote them down here. Okay, let me just jump into the creatives. You'll see the offers that I'm talking about. So for example, this one is very clear, $17.95 per square foot, material and labor included, and then limited time offer, available for driveway projects only. And you're going to be seeing the same thing repeated. This one's also a free demolition, covers up to a value of $7,000, includes cleanup and dump. And there's a lot of different offers that you can make. For example, there's backyard transformation. There's financing if you work with a third-party lender or if you do financing yourself. But this is one of the ones that is most profitable, again, because for most clients, driveways are very easy because you get in and out very fast, since you don't have to worry about moving fences or anything like that when it comes to backyard transformations. Let's see what else we got going on here. So as far as a creative, it's really just testing a lot of different things, seeing what's going to work, what doesn't. And this document, you can kind of just brainstorm. I would not copy these at all. Some of these don't perform. Some perform better than others. And you're going to see, if you haven't already noticed, that I really used just 3 main elements really. The first main element is going to be, of course, the offer. The second is going to be the project photos. And then, so let's see, there's another one that's just offer and project photos. This one's just offer, project photos, offer. I'm trying to show you a different one here. Here we go. So this is going to be the other one. It's going to be the offer, and then we have reviews. So photos of the reviews your company has. And these, typically, they perform really well. Of course, you can set the background as one of your projects just so that your customers see that as well. Surprisingly, these also work. Is just a little different element here, is where you have people actually working on your project, actively working, not a finished project or before it's even started, but mid-project. Those photos tend to produce some winning ad campaigns. So just a few different things to try out there. And as for the ad copy, let's go back over here. So this is going to be the actual text that shows up in the ad. But first, you of course have to hook them in with a good graphic before they'll even read this anyway. So here I showed you here's a few different examples. So again, we call them out. You'll notice that the names in here are just fictitious, like Gotham City, for example, or Tony Stark, Natasha Romanoff. So definitely don't copy and paste these. These were generated by ChatGPT, but it includes the main elements. And that is, you're targeting the city, just telling them that you have a special offer. You disclose the offer, and then you talk about what they actually get. So here it's going to be free estimates, free design consultation, label and materials included, and then just some other bonuses, and just copy pasting some of the reviews that you should have, hopefully you have, Google, Facebook, Yelp, or wherever else you have reviews on. So again, here is you're calling out your audience, disclosing your offer, and talking about the offer, another review. And of course, you can always experiment with it, but this is something that I found works very well. Now, again, I want to talk about why we actually want to call them out in the ad copy and the creative itself. I haven't been doing that in the creative. Oops, where are we here? In the creative, I've just been doing that in the ad copy, but that's something else that you can also test. You should definitely be testing, is putting the city that you're targeting into the creative. And so again, back to the policies that always change on these advertising platforms, all political really, is because back then we were actually able to target people who are living in the area, people who are just visiting the area, or just in general people who are in the area actively at the time of seeing the ad. So I've been getting on these calls with a lot of leads, and I'm finding out that a lot of these people, they're living hours away. They're either working in the area where I'm running the ads, or they're just commuting, they're just visiting. And we no longer have the option to actually select people who are only living in the area. So that's why we have to call it out, because otherwise we're going to have those people who are just visiting, just passing through, or just working there, asking for work on their home when really we don't even service where they're coming from. Now, if you do, that's great. Maybe that's one less thing they have to worry about, but call outs definitely help. So you get more of the people that you actually want to service, or who you're able to service. And you can do this with anything really. Like for example, if you only do driveways or you only do backyards, that's a different type of call out that you could put into your ad. And that's really going to be the most effective type of targeting, is just having strong call outs in your creative and in your copy. So over the long term, it's saving you money really, because you're spending less money trying to reach those people who aren't going to be your clients anyway. Because as your ads continue to run, the platforms will eventually know what type of people are converting well into leads and into customers once you set up your conversion API, but that's for another video. But moral of the story, just do your callouts in your creative and in your copy to get the clients that you actually want. Okay, now talking about strategies. So really quickly, I want to mention that there are dozens and maybe hundreds of different strategies you can use to run your ad campaigns, all just different combinations of the same tools, just like a Lego set. Each guru or YouTuber is probably going to have their own strategies, and they're all going to be different from the next. So I'll share with you a couple of my favorites, but I'm only going to be showing you the implementation of one. And again, there's so many, there's no right or wrong way. It's just a matter of testing. And the reason I'm including a couple others in a document, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can have that ready here. Probably going to add a couple more to these. As time goes on, I'll probably continue to add more info and resources to all these documents here. But here's just two of the different strategies. The reason I'm including them is that sometimes some strategies don't work for some people, but they work for others, and vice versa. The strategies that work for some may work for others. You get what I'm trying to say. So if one doesn't work for you, then just try the other. And if none of them work for you, again, I'll be adding more here over time, but you can always find different strategies online on YouTube. There's so many different people showing you different strategies. Just a matter of testing to find out what's going to work for you. Every ad account, business, and audience is different. And that's the reason that we as marketers, we have to do so much testing. That's probably the biggest job when it comes to marketing, is just the testing to figure out what works for us. That being said, you do need to give whatever you're testing time to actually spend money and reach people. If you kill your ads every time they don't get a lead after spending only $5, you're definitely going to be setting yourself up for failure. There's been times where I set up new ad campaigns. Sometimes they get up to $60, $80, maybe even $100, and they've only produced a single lead. Sometimes it goes that way, and then that's it. They only produce the one lead, it's not profitable, it gets shut off. Other times, it doesn't spend to $100 or $80, but once it does, it starts learning and starts bringing more leads, and soon we have an ad set that's producing at $20 to $30 per lead. Now, it's still kind of expensive, probably not as expensive as certain listing tools such as Angie's List, Home Advisor, or others. So that's obviously one benefit. You're getting cheaper leads in those platforms, but also you're getting exclusive leads, your own exclusive leads. So you're not having to beat all these other guys to the punch of calling them and getting that appointment first. That, and you're also not having to go give a quote for someone that might not even be your ideal client, is what I'm trying to say. So here you have a lot more control, and of course, they're cheaper and exclusive leads. So lots of benefits here. But as far as the strategies go, the one that we're going to be jumping into is the creative testing strategy. And you can see here that it's written twice. So one's slow testing, one's rapid testing. You could read about the differences here. But really, just one is spending more money than the other. I did say earlier, and here it also says we're starting with 10 different creatives, but we can also do a lot less than that, again, depending on the budget. So we can even just say 5 instead of 10. depends on how much money you have to spend and how much time you have. Honestly, 10 is a good starting point. And so the way that these ad campaigns work for some of you who may have never ran an ad campaign before is, at least this is how it works in Meta. You have the campaign level, which is going to be where you select the goal of your overall campaign. And then you're going to have the ad set level that's going to be inside of the campaign. And the ad set level is where you're going to control the targeting and your budget. Well, you can also control the budget at the campaign level, but that's we're not going to be touching that. We work at the ad set budget level for this one. So again, your targeting. And then finally, inside of your ad set, you're going to have your ad or your creative. So this is going to be where your images with your ad copy and everything else. So for the creative testing, we're going to have all of our different creatives, but instead of putting multiple creatives in each ad set, we're just going to put one creative in every different ad set. So 10 creatives, 10 different ad sets. Each of the ad sets, however, they're going to be the exact same. They're going to have the same budget, same targeting. The only thing different between ad set to ad set is going to be the ad that's in it. So that's going to be the creative. So this is why we call it creative testing, because each of these ad sets, even though inside of those are the same, it's the creative that's different. And then the other one is going to be individual interest testing. So this is where, well, I guess I could change that to individual interest targeting testing. It doesn't necessarily have to be an interest. You can also do things like target custom audiences or lookalike audiences. That's going to be something also for another video. For this one, we're going to have just 4 different creatives. I wouldn't really recommend more than 4 creatives per ad set, just because you can't really control the budget on an ad level. The highest you can control the budget on, the lowest rather, is going to be the ad set. So that's going to ensure that each creative gets a good amount of the budget, because if you do 10 ads in a single ad set, I hope you guys are still following along, then at that point there'd be some creatives that don't even get any of the money and don't reach any of the people, so you're not going to be getting any data anyway. So 4 would be the max there. And you can also do 10. This one we could also do like 4 different ad sets. And each of these are going to have different targeting. So we can do things like 5% income of the area that you're targeting, maybe 10%, maybe another one's going to be 10 to 25, 25 to 50, see which of those perform the best. But those are the strategies. And now let's go ahead and get into it. So this is going to be the ads manager. This one's completely blank. I created this one for the sake of this video. And if you don't have a business manager account and an ad account, there's videos everywhere, there's documents everywhere. I don't need to make another one. I'll just post a link to one of those in this document here that we were just in. So you can click that, watch that, get it set up if you don't already have it set up, and then just come back here. Okay, now let me just double check that I have all the images that I need. I just use a few different ones just to not overcomplicate this whole thing here. Okay, so we're doing creative testing. So what we can do is just say create, and we want leads, continue. You always want to do manual, especially if you don't have any data. This, I've never really messed with it, but if you're going to do it, you want to make sure that your ad account has a lot of data. Otherwise, it's probably just going to be wasting a lot of money. And that's what I hear a lot of people say, is that they always go with manual. So we're going to do the same. And you can always come up with your own naming conventions. For this one, I'm just going to type in creative testing leads. We put in the date and initials. So especially if you're working with a team or with other people, it's always really good to put the initials so you're able to know who did what. So this can say the same. So we want leads, not added. Okay, so keep everything else the same. We're going to go to next. So we can change forms in Messenger to just instant forms. Now you just want to change your page. Change this to the page that you're going to be running the ads on. Keep everything the same up to this point. Dynamic creative off. We have no catalog. And this is where you want to do the rapid testing or the slow testing. It just depends on your budget. So if we're going to be doing rapid testing, I'll just maybe do it at $25 per day. The start date, you could just set it at midnight. So it'll be the following day at midnight. And go ahead and change the location. So wherever this is going to be. So we'll just change it to... normally do it is target counties. So maybe I would do Alameda County. And then all just depends on which area you're in and how far you actually service. But no matter what, I would target a city or a county and not put a radius on it. For example, if I go to, so if I go to San Francisco, target the city, you're going to see here it says plus 25 miles. I would just change that to current city only and then target the area around there. For now, we'll just keep the counties. And if you scroll down a little bit further, you're going to see this advantage audience. This is the thing that popped up when we first created the campaign. We don't want to use that. So you click switch to original audience. Again, use original audience. Just ignore everything else that pops up. Honestly, unless you have a lot of data, that's what you want to do. And then here for hardscaping, I typically set it to at least age 30 to 65 plus. Sometimes I'll lower it a lot more. Detail targeting, you could uncheck that. The advantage again, you want to uncheck it. So this is where you're going to be able to target interest. So for example, we're going to be finding an interest stack. So you can target people who have an interest in finance and business because they might be interested in some luxury items, right? We might even be able to target luxury itself as an interest, lifestyle content. Okay, so you'll also see that the estimated audience size drops down significantly. I mean, if you have at least 100,000, you should be good. But here's what we'll do. We'll target income. So this is what I was telling you about earlier, where we could target the income. Do 5%, 10%, just do them all. So now we have a stack of income, and then you can always throw in more here if you'd like. That's how I'm going to leave it. Placements. Sometimes this is the only one I leave Advantage Plus on, but I've also found that feed works the best. So sometimes I go in here and click edit, and where is it at here? Here it is. So I'm not sure if you saw that, but I clicked edit right next to it and the manual placement option popped up. So if we click that, you can really uncheck those, uncheck the audience network. And here's another thing for the ads. Let me go into this really quickly. So if we go back to this document, you'll see that I have a 1:1 aspect ratio. They're square, so they're 1080 by 1080. And some of these are longer, so they're the 9:16 aspect ratio. So these are 1080 by 1920, I believe, something like that. So what I tend to do is I don't have any of them in here, but all of these have a duplicate. So for example, this one has a second version that looks just like it, same color schemes, same pictures, same text. The only thing that's changed is the aspect ratio and how everything is laid out, but everything else is the same. So I have one copy of this and the other one that's 9:16. So that way, when we go back over here, you can use it properly for Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Reels, and it's not going to just be a square post in on Reels or stories. So that's what I typically do there. And I'll show you how to use them in just a moment here. I uncheck in-stream, uncheck the search results. Those are typically what works best. Marketplace, okay, actually seen a lot come from there. Turn off video, turn off Explorer, and turn off Instagram profile feed, but feed is fine. Okay, from here we can move on. Now this is going to be where we're gonna create all the ads. So if we scroll down, so you're just going to hit add media, add image, and click upload. From here, obviously just find wherever your images are. All right, and you can actually see here that this is what I was talking about. See, this one's square, this one's basically the same thing, just a different aspect ratio. Each one of them has its own copy. So I'm just going to select them, click open, and just let them all process. Okay, now that they're all uploaded, obviously you're just going to want to select whichever one it is. Click next. And so this is what I was talking about. This is how it comes out. A lot of it's going to be cropped off if you don't have another version, or if you click original, it's just going to be a square. Then you get this warning from Facebook. Most warnings don't really matter, but anyway, if you have that other version, all you want to do is click replace and select the other one. Click next. And now you see it looks good. Good to go. Click next again. And I normally just leave these optimizations on. So again, I'll hit done. And this is where your ad copy is going to go. So if we just go over to that document I created here, just copy it all and place it in primary text. And just make sure it's kind of spaced out properly. Everything looks good, kind of squared away. All right, so that's in there. Add text option, and we're just going to go ahead and use the rest of it. And I think I had, was it one more, two more? And of course, you are definitely going to want to go back in there and square it away. Because if you look at it, everything's kind of scrunched up together. It kind of makes it more difficult to read than it has to be. So it could be much easier to read. Like if you go up to this one, it's very clear as to what's separated. This one should actually go up one. There we go. So that looks better. It's easier to read. So you're going to want to do the same thing for them all. Maybe for this one, since it didn't have emojis, I'd either add the emojis or just add a dash here, just to clearly separate it. So I just go through, have them all look just like that, and then down to the headline. So this is one thing that I will be adding to this. I just realized right now that I didn't add it. Special offer for Gotham City homeowners. To be quite honest, this one's probably way too long to be used on Facebook, but I'll keep it for now. Oops. Gotham City owner special discount for Gotham City homeowners. And they don't need to be caps. Honestly, I probably wouldn't run all caps. Just happen to have it on. Just put some type of emoji there. And again, just with the emoji. There we go. Description, I typically don't put anything there. Call to action is almost always learn more. From what I've seen and testing all of the other options, all the other call to actions, learn more typically performs the best. So this one we'll go with here. Scroll down, all the enhancements are turned on, and you will need to make a form for this type of ad. So before you can actually continue, you're going to want to obviously click create form. Okay, so for the form that we're going to be filling out, you can go ahead and select higher intent, and then go into next, go to intro. I like to select the background image, turn that on, and then create a banner that you can actually use for that. And that's going to be 1200 by 628 pixels. And this is kind of what it looks like over here. Add some little greeting, just to let them know what they're getting into. So that way your prospects know that they clicked on the right ad, so they know what they're going to be filling out. Now, clearly this is going to be a different form. This is probably one you filled out if you're watching this video. If you haven't, you'll probably see it eventually. But we can say something like unlock exclusive hardscaping for your home. Since we're targeting homeowners now, get ready to transform your home with a one-of-a-kind driveway. Now the questions. So this is going to be important because the more questions that you add, the more expensive your leads are going to get, but also the more qualified your leads are going to be. So these questions are obviously different than our goal here. So I'm going to delete these. And I've actually added a couple questions over here back in our resource document. That's not the right document. Here we go. So is your project located in targeted city? So we can just go ahead and say that. Where do we go here? Okay, add new question. And just make it easy to answer by giving them a yes, no. Is your project located in city? So I'd say 2 to 3 questions is pretty good. And no matter what, at the end of the form, if they submit it, you are going to be asking them for their full name, email, phone number, and I'll show you that in just a second. So go back over here. Where are you in the process? Multiple choice. So we could say planning, budgeting, designing, or ready to build. And we'll just leave it at that. And scrolling down a little bit further, you're going to give them a description as to what you're going to be using their information for. So our team will reach out to you and set your appointment for your complimentary project estimate. Then it's just going to ask for full name, email, and phone number. You can always add more, but again, the more questions you add, the more expensive the leads are going to be. Privacy policy, and you will need to be uploading, you need to have a page somewhere for your privacy policy. So somewhere on your website, if you have a website, which you should also have a privacy policy page. So just link that in there, call it privacy policy, and that's it. Review screen. So this is what it's going to look like over here on the right once they're all done. And then you leave them a message once they complete the form. So at this point, once they're seeing this, you already have all of their information. You're ready to give them a call, but we tell them one last time, or we give them one last call to action, because why not? They're going to be sent to this page anyway. We tell them you're almost done. Click the link below to schedule a time and date to speak with our team about, again, we gotta change this, about your project. And then it's going to take them to a website. Here's going to be a link, and that's where they're going to be able to book directly onto my calendar. Another thing that you can do is you can also say, instead of that, you're going to have them call the business, obviously enter the phone number, and then you can name it anything you want, like call now. Right away. And really the form is just simple as that. So, okay. There we go. Should be good. And it's simple as that. So now that you have your form created, you can go ahead and publish it. But before we do that, we're actually going to go ahead and set up all the others. So let's go up here. So we're going to rename this. So it's going to be just add one. Go back to the ad set level. And since we're targeting kind of income, we'll say income targeting add one. Again, this is creative testing, so it doesn't need to be too complex since all the ad sets are going to be the same. So we'll click the three little dots there and click duplicate. We'll just do 2 more. Duplicate. And whenever you duplicate, a lot of times it'll change some of the settings. So first thing, we'll just delete copy, change that to 2. So we do want to double check, make sure it's still $20, make sure it's still at midnight. And let's see. Okay, so it doesn't look like it changed anything here. It all looks the same. Normally it does. That's still manual. Okay, good. So we'll go into the actual ad, change that to 2. And we're not going to change any of the copy, any of the headlines. All that's going to stay the same. The only thing we're going to change is the creative. So go down to add creative media, remove all, and then add again. And you're just going to select another one. We'll go with that one. And again, replace and select the vertical version. Looks good. Hit next. Done. And we're going to do that one more time. You're going to do this as many times as you need to. Again, depending on your budget and how fast you want to see results. Really, if you're going to be testing creatives, I'd say maybe $5 to $20 a day would be good. That's typically what I do, but I'm always testing again. down, double check everything's the same. Everything's still manual, custom. Okay, go over to add. Just go with the purple one. All right, looks good. Hit next. Hit done. And then from here, instead of hitting publish at the ad level, you actually want to go up and hit publish at the campaign level. So that way it goes through and publishes absolutely everything. So we can hit publish there. Publishing win of 7. So now they're scheduled. So now what's going to happen is that Meta is going to be reviewing the ads and making sure that they follow all of their policies. And if they did, they'll start running within a few days if you have a brand new ad account. Now, if you've already been spending a lot of money on Meta, your ad could be approved already. It could be approved within minutes, could be approved within hours. It all depends on how fresh your ad account is. Another thing to note, if you have a brand new ad account, is that when your ad account first starts, or when your ads first start spending money, you're going to be spending about $10. You're going to be charged $10 every time it spends $10. And the reason for this is it just wants to make sure you're not some scammer, you have good payment methods. And then once you actually spent a good amount of money and paid that $10, it's slowly going to start going up. So at first it's going to be a lot of small charges. Then later on it's going to be few large charges. So that's how that works for new ad accounts. Then you can always set the budget, how much you want to spend max every day and things like that. Not just here within each campaign, but also in the actual ad, the entire ad account level itself. So across many campaigns, it's not going to pass that spend. So that's that. Now, your ads are going to be running. I wouldn't touch them for a few days. Like I said earlier, there's times where my ads, they spend like $80 to $100, and then they start to really perform after not bringing in any leads. So you want to give them a chance to really bring in leads, spend some money, and reach some people. So I would say $60 to $80, kind of really give them a good chance to try to reach people, see if they're going to be performing. As far as, I guess, I should show you how to actually get your leads. As far as downloading your leads, so obviously you're going to be able to see your results here. This is where your leads are going to pop up. You're going to be able to see how much you've spent. But to actually download them, you're going to go into the campaigns, ads, and then ad sets, and then ads. And this is where you're going to be able to download them. So once you have leads, you'll be able to click on Facebook lead, and you'll be able to just download them as a spreadsheet. And you can set the time frame here and everything else like that. So you don't have to go one by one. You can also select the campaign and then click ads, and then they should all show up here, and you'll be able to download all of your leads there. Now, setting up the whole lead flow and everything, if you've used a CRM, which you should be doing if you've been in business for a while and managing a lot of leads, hopefully you are. Hopefully now you'll be managing more. You should already have a CRM, and this integration, the setup should be fairly straightforward with Meta, because it's one of the biggest platforms. So most CRMs will already have an integration for this. Either way, I will end up making a video on the whole process so you know how to actually integrate it. And not just so you get notifications on your phone for these Facebook leads, so you could call them right away, but also emails, nurturing, so that way your clients know that you're going to be giving them a call, sending them a text message, email nurturing. So all that stuff I'm going to be making in another video, so you really get the most out of these. So that way you don't just call them once, they don't answer, and then you never talk to them again. You always want to be you want to be staying at top of mind of these guys. So when you call them, they remember and they know exactly what you're talking about. Instead of, hey, yeah, no, I don't know who you are, never filled out that form. You know what I'm talking about. Kind of as far as optimizing goes, you never want to touch these once they're in here. The only time you want to do anything to any of your ad sets or ads is to turn them off if they're not performing. Now, if they are performing very, very well, you don't want to touch the budget, just leave it alone. What you would do is just go in here and you would, okay, what's going on here? There we go. So you would select it and duplicate it. And when you duplicate it, you actually want to do a brand new campaign, and you can just name it winning ad sets. And you're going to duplicate all of your winners, everything that you ever find winning, into a single campaign, so that way you can keep those winners organized. And once you're in there, and only when you're in here, do you want to mess with the budget at all. So it's still showing us all these other ones. I believe I selected them all. Yeah, that's why. Okay, so winning ad sets. Now, this is the ad set we just duplicated and kind of pretending this one's already a winner, that we saw it as a winner in the campaign. So here you would increase the budget by about 20%. So just $25 or $5 at a time for this one. Then the higher you raise the budget, then the more you'll be able to increase it each time you duplicate. And you can duplicate it in the same campaign if it starts to perform again. And the reason we do it this way is because if something's winning, you don't want to touch it. You want it to continue to bring in leads. These platforms are very, very sensitive to where the smallest change could impact its performance negatively. And we do not want that if your campaign is bringing in good leads at a low rate. And we don't want to waste a lot of money. So let's say if we want to jump it up to 100, well, it's not guaranteed it's going to work. So that's why we want to do it a little bit at a time. Okay, so that's how you're going to be setting up your ad campaigns. As I mentioned throughout this video, we're going to have a lot more videos coming on this topic and how to optimize and how to properly manage leads, how to nurture your leads, and a whole lot of other stuff. So if you like this video, be sure to sign up to the newsletter, check out the website. These are probably going to be across all different platforms, so be ready for those. All right, real quick, it's been about 2 days since I created the first part of the video, so now it's 2 days later, and I created some new campaigns for a client on that same day. And also, I want to show you the ads that I showed you that I created during that whole walkthrough process. I actually left those active on accident, so I'm going to show you the results on those as well. So first up, we're going to jump into the client ad account. And I think this ad account has about $30,000 ad spend up to this point, at least from this year. Okay, so let me move this over. So here we see that we do have 3 different campaigns. So you'll see if you look over here at the cost per result, we are getting some pretty expensive leads. So this one, I mean, $87, $99, $42. So they could be a lot cheaper, but I'm going to go into these and break down why they're still running and how this whole process really works as far as optimizing and shutting down the ads that aren't running. Because remember, this is the campaign level. So inside each of these campaigns, there are multiple ad sets that are running. So we'll start with this one here. And you'll see that we do have an ad set that's producing at $66, but then this one is performing much better at $32 per lead. And then we have a couple that aren't really performing at all. And this is the point that I want to make. It's that you have to give them time to find out whether or not they're going to be performing. So if we look at this one, spent $66, I'd probably give it another day, maybe 2 days to find out whether or not these two are going to be producing leads. So if it gets about anywhere between $80 to $100, maybe hasn't produced a single lead, I'll shut it off. If it produces just a single lead, I'll probably let it get to $100 to $120 and then I'll shut it off. Now that's not going to be the goal. We don't want to be producing leads at really anything above $60, but if they start producing leads at $100, there's a chance that it could start producing even more. And then the cost per lead will drop down even further. But you're never going to know if you don't give it a chance. So that's why these are still running. But again, if these don't start producing within the next day or two, these two will get shut off. And then these two will be the only ones that continue running. So going back, let's go into this one. All right. So it's funny because I had to re-record this video because the first time I did it, my microphone wasn't on. And this was actually at 2 leads and the cost per lead was like, I think at 120 to 160, somewhere around there. It was definitely in the hundreds. So a lead came in between those 10 minutes that I needed to, that I realized that I needed to re-record this. So looking at this, we do have $82 spent on this ad set and it hasn't produced a lead. So this one I'll probably end up terminating either tonight or tomorrow morning if it hasn't produced leads. Now these 3 I'm going to let run a little bit longer. This one's $50, so I'll probably give this one 2 days. These have produced at $80, so I might give it another day, maybe 2 days, see if they start to produce any more leads. Now if we go back, we'll go to the last campaign that you may have noticed has been producing leads a lot cheaper than the other 2. But it's also spent more money, and I'll get into why that is and how I created this campaign. So this one's actually going to be different than the way I showed you in the first part of the video. So going into here, you'll see that we do have an ad set that's performing really well. So less than $15 per lead, really good, $42 per lead, and $62 per lead, which isn't bad, but that's not what we want in the long term. We want the leads at $40 per lead or less, which would be ideal because these are, again, very qualified leads. And for the most part, they're going to be people who are ready to buy, ready to set an appointment, and want to be doing business with us. So we don't mind paying a little bit more for these exclusive qualified leads. Now, talking about this ad set here, the C3, which has not produced a lead, but it's only spent $42. So I'm still going to give it a chance, let it spend another $40, maybe another $50, and see if it has produced anything by then. If it hasn't produced anything by $100, $80 to $100, I'll end up shutting it off. This one, well, all these really, I'm going to end up giving them a chance. But if they start to get past $100 per lead, maybe to 120 even, it's probably the highest I'll let it run, then I'll shut it off. Now, you may have noticed that there are many other ad sets in this campaign, and all of these say 0. And the reason for that is because this is a duplicated ad campaign. So what I mean by that is this campaign was performing very, very well, but then over time, it just stopped performing altogether, completely. And that just happens sometimes. That happens with ads. Sometimes you'll have a really good performing ad set, or campaign rather, with a bunch of different winners in there, different ad sets that are performing very well. And over time, they'll just stop performing, it seemingly out of no reason. I mean, it happens sometimes. And all you have to do to really fix that is just duplicate it. And then most of the time, it'll start performing again. It's hit and miss. But that's where this one came from. It's because I knew these were already performing very well in the first campaign. But over time, they just stopped performing. So I just duplicated the campaign and turned on the winning ad sets. So there's a lot of different ad sets in here because I do a lot of different testing. Now, sometimes it's not just the ad sets that are not performing that I kept off. Some of them are just offers that have changed over time as well. So for example, maybe we're getting too many appointments, too many leads. So we want to increase the price, right? So that'll change the entire offer. Maybe the offers have to change altogether outside of just the pricing that we're listing. So obviously I wouldn't be turning those back on because we just want to push the latest offer if we want those higher paying clients instead of the obviously lower paying clients. So that's another reason that we have so many ad sets in here. It's a testing, some weren't performing, and then as I just mentioned, the offers change. So if you end up finding those winning ad sets in a campaign and over time they just stop performing, just duplicate the entire campaign, turn everything else off except for those winning ad sets, and they should start performing again. It's, again though, hit and miss. And it's going to be the same idea with the losers, is that sometimes the ad sets that aren't performing very well out the gate, over time they will end up performing very well. And that's why I always say you just have to give it a chance and see how they're going to work, how they're going to perform. A lot of times when you do a lot of testing up front, you may be losing money or maybe breaking even. And over time it will start to perform, but you're not gonna know unless you give it a chance. And let's go into the one that I was running, the one that I set up in the earlier part of the video. All right, here we go. So this is the one that I created the other day. So you'll see here it says the 21st, put the initials on there, and today's the 23rd at 5 p.m. PST. You'll see it's only spent $26 and already produced a lead. And this is a brand new ad account. So there's really no excuse for you to not expect any results out the gate, right? You just got to make sure your creative is there where it needs to be. Same with the copy, same with the offer and the audience that you're targeting. If you get that lined up, you should have no problems producing leads right away. This is pretty simple stuff to do. And when you go into the campaign, you'll see the different ad sets. One clearly had an error, so it didn't spend any money if you look over here. And there's two ad sets. One produced no leads at $12, and the other is the one that produced a lead at just under $14. So that's pretty good, but I left it on by accident. I realized it yesterday and turned it off. So this probably wasn't even a full day of this campaign running, and it already produced a lead. If we go over here, we'll see that the click-through rate is over 2%. So it is, I mean, it works. You know, you've seen it here, so there's no excuse. Just jump into it and get it working. And I think that pretty much covers everything for this one.